Just keep winning souls. Um, I'm convinced, I spoke this to some of Mike's leaders here, that if we're not careful, we can become spiritually nearsighted, where we're thinking about our church and our people and I love all that, love all of that. But Jesus said, open your eyes, look at the fields, and I think there's a gravitational pull to selfishness, even in churches and even in leaders. And so we get satisfied with what we have. Never stop your burning passion for lost people.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Pound for Pound Leader podcast. My name is Mike Kai. I am so excited to be here with some great leaders. And before we even begin, I want to continue to encourage you to go to mikekai.tv, where you can get all the things that we got there when it comes to merchandise. And of course, my new planner, my new calendar, you're going to want that. There's none like it on the market today. So make sure you get it and set your goals high for 2025. So today, talking about goals, there are people that we want to be like and people that we emulate and churches that we would love to have. And, Shaun Withy-Allen with me to the left. When we first started, how many people you started with, Shaun?
Our first service, we had 224.
See, he started crazy. When he started, he had a model. He had
Thanks to ARC, yes.
Yeah, we gave you a lot. How much did we give you? We gave you a lot of money.
I would have to look at the records.
It
was significant. Yes. Well, you gave me a one time, and then you also gave us monthly.
It's just
Wow.
So other people are watching.
Yes,
this
very
guy,
generous.
Well,
Mike's got lots of money, guys. Just come on. Just come on.
No, it's because he just was just like a great guy, and he came back into the islands in a very good way. But sitting across, he started with 200. I started with 40. I had a launch, and maybe I got to 200, and it shrank down to maybe 75, and we built from there. But one of the guys, in fact, the guy that we're with us today at this table at the Pound for Pound Leader podcast is my pastor and my mentor, and I'm grateful for him. His name is Chris Hodges, Pastor Chris Hodges from Church of the Highlands. And has Church of the Highlands influenced you in any way?
Oh, I did my church planner training at Church of the Highlands, and I've been there multiple times. And yeah, pretty much everything we do has got some touch of Church of the Highlands on it.
I think almost every church in America now has picked up Growth Track, has done something that Highlands does or ARC does. By the way, he's sitting in front of me. He's the man, the myth, the legend, and he's a good friend. And I'm so glad to have him. Would you please welcome to the podcast, Pastor Chris Hodges?
Yeah. That's great. Well, it's good to be here. I'm very honored. It's always fun to be on the islands, and we had a great time with you and played a little golf, did a little preaching. Helping you lead your legacy season, your season of your Heart for the House offering. And so it's fun. It's good to be here with you, my friend.
Thank you. Last night was fantastic. Not only was last night great, but also we had such a great time when it came to golfing on the Big Island, eating some great food, showing you places, and it's so that you could get the whole ethos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows Oahu, but not everybody knows Hawaii Island, also known as the Big Island. And speaking of the Big Island, I'm really excited about that because you got to see it. Tell me what is the best part that you got out of that trip. If you could take the whole thing and dwindle it down, take out me and Lisa, what was the best part?
It's hard to take you and Lisa out of anything. I think it was just great. You were telling me about the history of the first missionaries to ever set foot on this part of the earth, and that really touched me. And of course, you have a huge vision and love for this place in a very unique way. Yeah. And of course, you have property now on that island that you're going to use to train pastors and retreats and places of rest and refuge. So that was probably the best, just to grab the history and the past and the future of that beautiful island. And I learned, because we did a helicopter tour around the island, that there are 13 different climate zones known. On the planet, there are 13, and that island has 9 of the 13.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So I mean, we got in this helicopter, and it was this arid, volcanic, not even a blade of grass, and then just in minutes, lush waterfalls. It was just the most amazing thing to see this beautiful place. So we had a blast.
Yeah, it is. It is actually breathtaking. It's breathtaking, and it's actually where you exhale. Pastor Norman, come join us. Come have a seat over here while we're talking. We just started the podcast. Pastor Norman Nakanishi is about to sit down. He's retired, but also he's working harder than ever before. He just got off. Listen, everybody, pound for pound. This man, pound for pound, this chair right here, sir. This chair right here. This man, pound for pound, is one of the best leaders, if not one of the greatest leaders in the islands in the history of the state of Hawaii. Pastor Norman Nakanishi is having a seat, everybody. Thank you.
I don't know if I would say that about me.
Good
Again,
to see
who are
you, sir.
Talking about?
I'm talking about you. I'm
How you
talking
doing,
about you.
Sean?
We're talking about
Yeah.
the island of Hawaii. We'll get to the University of Hawaii
Oh, no,
blowout
maybe
after
not
this,
today,
but
yeah.
maybe not today. Maybe today. Let's get
Told
it
me
out.
might be a little
It's a
depressed
little
after.
therapy for you as the chaplain of the coaches.
Coaches.
Yeah. And so the different topography of the Big Island is absolutely breathtaking. But I was telling PC that it's one of the places where I literally exhale in the whole state. Like I can go to any other island, I don't feel like that unless I go to the Big Island, and I feel like. Okay,
But that's your hometown area too. You were showing me where you
Yeah.
played basketball as a teenager,
Where I lost the
where
game
you
at
lost the
13.
game. That was the best story ever. But yeah, I think you have a heart connection to it in a very special way.
Yeah, it's awesome. So sitting at the table with us is not only Shaun Withy-Allen from a church called Mana Church, but also sitting across me to my far left is a great pastor in Hawaii. He's just recently retired, but he's with the Every Nation movement of churches. If you've heard of Every Nation, you better find out who they are. And we all have a mutual friend
But
in Jim
I'm actually
Laffoon.
not retired.
You're not retired?
No, yeah, I'm just
Okay.
repositioned.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
Oh, I like the way you say that. Go ahead. Explain to us this new season of your life.
Yeah, so right now I'm an expansion pastor, so I help coach, mentor young pastors to plant new works.
Mhm.
And then I work with the Every Nation denomination. I'm on the oversight team, so that means I help oversee the president, Steve Merle. On my team is your good friend Jim Merle. I'm not Jim Merle,
Jim
Jim
Laffoon.
Laffoon.
Mhm.
Yeah, prophet of prophets. So I do that. More traveling, coaching, mentoring, training.
Well, welcome. Thank you for making time for this. You just came off of a men's retreat. How was it?
They talked about you, Mike.
They talked about me.
Yes, they did. Your basketball prowess and intensity. It was wonderful. They want to get back to disciple making and church planting. Yeah. it
Was
really
that
good.
Rob McWilliams?
Yeah, Rob, Guy Souza, the
Oh.
gang. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Well, welcome.
Your roots.
My
Yeah.
roots is where I came from. So he just did a men's conference at the church that I came out of.
That's great.
Yeah, it's called Anchor Church now. So we got a couple of questions here, Pastor Norman. You can pick one, but I'm going to start off with one of the most important questions that I wanted to ask Pastor Chris.
Huh.
And with 26 campuses now?
Yeah.
And
24 in Alabama, 2 in
Goodness.
Georgia.
24 in Alabama. Man, roll
Yeah.
Tide, 2 in Georgia.
Not Roll Tide though.
No, Roll Tide.
I'm an LSU Tiger, so.
Does your church know this by now? They know.
Well,
it?
you know, half the state is Auburn, so
Oh, okay.
it was actually the wisdom of God that I was
Yeah.
neither Auburn or Alabama
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
because they can't stand each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was actually beautiful that I'm neither.
That is.
You're,
Yeah,
you're
really.
an LSU Tiger.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Once a Tiger, always a Tiger. You know, they have the colors of heaven, purple and gold, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That is. That's royalty right
If
there.
you don't like it, you're not going to like heaven. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
So now that you, so you're pastoring in Alabama and you have campuses in Georgia, you have an average attendance of about a minimum of 50,000 people on the weekend.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. That's incredible.
Yeah.
You are not just a pastor to pastors, but you're pastor to very influential people. One of them is a Hawaii homegrown local boy, Tua Tagovailoa,
hmm
and who's with the Miami Dolphins right
Yeah.
now. So you have all of this going on. Let me ask you a question. What are you most excited that you see now for 2025 in the future for your church? And then what are you most concerned about? What are you most excited about? What are you the most concerned about? Pick one.
Yeah, and actually, it's what a joy it is to be sitting next to this legend next to me. I'm Pastor Norman because I'm in a season right now where I'm not going anywhere, but I know I need to transition my role.
Hmm.
I'm never going to retire.
Mhm.
As long as there's breath inside me, I'm going to be serving God in some kind of a way.
I love it.
But I do know I'm in a season where I think it's time for me to raise up the next generation, hand it to the next generation. Again, not leave, but just change roles. You know, my grandfather now, Mike, and you know that we have our 10th grandchild on the way,
Oh, congratulations.
That's
and it's the
amazing.
best.
Yeah.
And so I haven't left the family, but my role has changed.
Yeah.
And Tammy and I have stopped having kids. Thank God. All right. We've stopped having kids, but we haven't left the family.
Yeah.
We're just in a grandfather role now.
Wow.
And I see it the same way. I think it's time for me not to leave the family,
Yeah.
but to take a different role as a grandfather, so to speak, and let my kids have kids.
Yeah.
And so I'm praying about how to do that. I've been studying. Excuse me, I have a little head cold, so I'm trying to talk with this cough drop in my mouth. But
Yeah. No problem.
I've been studying a lot, how it's done because there've been some successful transitions of roles. I don't call it passing the baton or retirement. To me, it's a transition of roles. I'm just changing roles.
Yeah,
Same
that's a
family,
great way.
new
I
roles.
love it.
And so, but I've been trying to learn from those who did it well and actually learn from those who did it wrong as well. Because I really do want to do it right. Because I think the greatest need, back to your question, Mike,
Hmm.
is are we ready for the next generation? Do we have enough leaders for the next generation? And the studies say no.
Yeah.
So Barna says in the next 20
Wow.
to 30 years,
Wow.
the current number of pastors in America is going to be cut in half. In 30 years, whatever it
Wow.
is now, we'll have half the pastors. So they're leaving the
Wow.
ministry, not going into ministry, maybe
Yeah.
even defaulting in some cases,
Hmm.
faster at an alarming rate, faster than we're replenishing on the other end. So imagine an America with 50% less ministers.
Right.
And it's not going to be
Wow.
good.
Wow.
We're quickly headed to like a
Yeah.
post-Christian Europe
Yeah.
type of
Yeah.
situation just because we don't have the leaders to pull it off. So I'm very concerned about the next generation of leaders, just even raising them up. We don't even have the same environments that most, like probably the four of us got our calling in.
Yeah.
There aren't any more altar calls. There are no more youth camps. I mean, I got called by God out of youth camp, but the presence of God fell, and there was, we're at the altar giving our lives to Jesus. I don't even see those environments happening that much anymore. So I'm very concerned, and I'm trying to do my part to both raise up the next generation and hand it off to them and prepare them. And then I'm ready. I'm 61 now. I'm ready to give the rest of my life to helping guys like you reach your potential.
Mhm.
In some kind of weird way, I have so much fun. I have more fun watching other people's church grow more than ours, and it's seeing them, really. I just call it reach their full potential, all that God has intended for them. So I'm doing some coaching now, and some formal mentoring, and in some cases some consulting in deep into the weeds of some churches, and I'm loving it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So to help prepare the next generation, you started church
Highlands College.
Highlands College. So tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, so when I was youth pastor in Colorado Springs back in the late 80s, early 90s, I taught a religion class at the Air Force Academy.
Hmm.
And I got bit by this academy model. It's a university, it's a 4-year university, West Point, Annapolis, and Air Force Academy, or 4-year bachelor's degree universities, plus 3 other pillars of training. So that's only 1/4 of what they do. So they go to class just like any other university. But then they spend the rest of the day jumping out of airplanes and parachuting, and
Yeah.
they graduate with military training. So they graduate as some of the most elite training force because they've been training for 4 years, and then they have a character formation pillar at these academies where they're walking in straight lines, having their bedrooms inspected, just developing the heart and the character of the person. And then for them, it's physical development. So in 2011, when we started Highlands College, we wanted to be the first Christian university in that academy model. And we are the first Christian university in the academy model. And we kept 2 of the 4 pillars, academic instruction and character formation. But instead of military training, we have ministry training. Our students graduate with 800 hours of experience on graduation day. They would have already done it 800 hours
Wow.
worth.
Wow.
So if they have a degree in worship or children's ministry or pastoral leadership, they would have already done it 800 hours, like physically done it. Because we deploy them to all of our campuses every weekend, and they're actually, they're for those who are getting the technology and creative arts degree, they're in the video editing booth with my staff, learning it, pushing the buttons themselves, learning how to do it. So the hope is to fulfill the call of Jesus in Luke 10:2. The harvest is plentiful. We don't have a harvest problem.
Yeah.
We don't have a harvest problem. There's plenty of people that want to get saved, plenty of people who'd eat meals, plenty of people who'd receive the love of God. The workers are few. Been the case for 2,000 years, and it still is. And to me, this is probably not only bold, but maybe a little arrogant. I don't know. But I think it's the most important problem to solve. I think we're all trying to solve problems, and I think this one should be at the top of the list. Because no matter even what your cause is, if you love, pro-life ministry, if you love feeding the poor, if you love whatever your cause is,
Yeah.
if you don't have leaders to do it,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's still going to come back. Do you
Yeah.
have people to do the cause?
Yeah.
So I will argue that this is the greatest problem in the world to solve. And these studies are showing that we're losing churches. America's shutting down more churches every year than we're collectively planting. And this is all
Wow.
the denominations, ministries. So we're in a net deficit every year of churches. And I already told you about the pastors. So I'm trying to do everything I can to change that.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
No, I didn't know the severity of that, the demise and the famine of that, but that's why I'm doing what I do.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. We have to. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I'm stunned. I'm actually stunned, which fuels my fire to train up more leaders and church planters,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, Pastor Chris is a church planter, and look what he's done. I followed Larry Stockstill and I are about the same age, so
Yeah.
I'm an old dude.
Yeah.
And
That's my pastor for those listening.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just to see what he's done, you've
Yep.
done,
Yep.
right? Sean's doing,
Mm-hmm.
who told me he'd never planted a church before, and just to see the growth there. I mean, this is what turns my crank. I'll die doing this.
Absolutely.
Do you have an online model yet for Church of the Highlands?
Yeah, here's the problem for the Highlands College, you mean?
Yeah, Highlands College.
Yeah, the problem with that, Mike, is yes, we do. But the problem with it is information's not what's lacking.
Yep.
So just to put some modules online,
Yeah.
it's not information they lack mentoring.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in our classrooms, we don't even have classrooms at Highlands College. We have what we call learning studios. And they actually watch lectures before they come to class.
Mm-hmm.
And they come to class ready to discuss it, be mentored by it, and have vibrant discussion. We've actually reversed classwork and homework. You know, you used to go to class and sit there and listen to a lecture and take notes, and then go home and work it out.
Yeah.
We reversed it. You actually do the lecture for the homework before you come to class. Come to class ready to work it out and to discuss it and to grow in it. And so our professors are all leading discussion in those topics. So that's what's hard to just, hey, here, you take this, unless you're willing to actually work out with them, be in a small group with them and ask them about their father wounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about your money. Tell me about your habits.
Yeah.
So it's more than just Bible training. That's been the miss, in my opinion, which is why we needed this holistic academy model.
Beautiful.
Academics is important,
Yeah.
but it's only 1/4 of what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a 17 or 18-year-old that wants to go away to college and they feel the call of God in their life and you want to send them somewhere. That pool has shrunk, right? In my opinion, that pool of where I would send them has shrunk, but it's still a pool. There's still a place.
Right.
And so Church of the Highlands for 17, Highlands College, 17 or 18-year-olds, perfect. How would I take a 27-year-old that's married and got a kid? How would I be able to get that education model while they're still here? And I could.
Well, you have to start a program, but again, let me emphasize again, it's not an education model.
Yeah.
You want to train them in the Bible,
Right.
but you got to get to their heart. You got to give them time on the stage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to get some reps.
Yeah.
To be able to do this. That's what I got, honestly. I have 3 different degrees, right? And so I got book learning, as we call it down in the South. I have that, but I was given chances.
Mm-hmm.
At 22 years old, I was on the stage preaching. My pastor's on the front row taking notes. I'm thinking, my goodness, look at he's getting blessed right now. No, that was all the stuff I did wrong. He took me to lunch the next day, and it was 8 pages of stuff I did wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Cried like a little baby at the lunch table.
Yeah.
Said, I'll never do that again. He said, oh, yes, you are. Next Sunday, you're doing it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And we've lost that. We've lost
Yeah.
that mentoring, giving them chances, giving them reps, putting them in the game, developing those kind
What
of
would
leaders.
you call this, the apprenticeship model?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But and you got to think of it holistically. Again, academics, character, ministry training, and spiritual development. They've got to learn how to seek God, fast, pray, cultivate the anointing of God in their lives. All that's important.
So good. So good. Let's keep the convo going. You see,
I would just say, I mean, Norman sitting across from me here, that was my experience when I was serving with Pearlside. I was playing arena football here back when we had the Islanders. I'd play Saturday night and I would preach Sunday night. I led a site for Pearlside on campus at UH. I was a chaplain for the football team, and the team folded unexpectedly. And so my whole heart was to use the platform of football for church planting, for reaching the lost, specifically on the campuses especially. And when the team folded, felt God speak and say, keep playing, and ended up with Michael Fletcher in North Carolina through a long story of getting traded there. And he kind of finds out my background. And so he says, hey, we'll make room for you to be a full-time quarterback and a full-time pastor on staff. And
I love that.
and they're doing the same thing. So we're doing like my heart right now, because that so shaped me as I was mid-20s at the time, and it was such a, like, people don't realize how, like, if you're a high capacity leader, the best thing a pastor can do for you is give you an opportunity to lead at a high level.
Mm.
And like,
Right.
I was just in Nashville a few weeks ago with 24 leaders of our microsites. We have 4 microsites now, a 5th one hopefully starting up next year. And these are all leaders in the military who were with us in Hawaii. And then Uncle Sam sent them out. We call Uncle Sam the greatest mission sending force we have. And so if we don't have a man at church where they are, we empower them to lead a micro expression of it. And we cover them from afar, but all of them, the reason they lead it, I always ask them, these guys are lieutenant colonels, colonels, these are high capacity people, but they say, we got here and we missed being the hands and feet of Jesus. Like, there's great churches in the area, but we missed feeling like we were a necessary part of the church. And so they're out there leading on a Sunday morning. We give them video worship, video teaching, but then they're doing small groups in person. They're doing growth track in person. They're doing outreach in person. And it all came back to the experience they had while they were a part of the local church, being able to actually get the reps. And they'll say it ruined us for regular church, as they would call it.
Yeah.
So you went to the University of Hawaii. You got a degree, and then you went off to play arena football, and then you were mentored under a great pastor, a great man of church. Did you get any? I'm sure you got theological training under Michael Fletcher, but did you get a degree?
So I actually did the Every Nation School of Campus Ministry before I played arena football, because I didn't get drafted by the NFL right away, and I knew I was going to use that platform, and some doors would open up. And so I took 6 months to do a very similar model through Fuller Theological Seminary, which was class and then full internship. I was at USC back when Reggie Bush and those guys were there. I worked with the football team and got a chance to see Pete Carroll. I mean, incredible environment. And then the Manna family, we have a university as well. So I have my master's in Christian leadership from Manna University.
Wow.
With a very similar model of online academic work where you watch the lectures and then you discuss. I mean, it's
Exactly.
Again, it goes back to.
Well, that's one component I'm missing. My component is I got the hands-on, no doubt. We got the hands-on, we got the environment, we got presence, but there's that generation. Clint sitting behind me, he's a graduate of Pacific Rim Bible College. We don't have a Bible college here anymore. We had one, and it's kind of here. But my challenge is I have 20-something and 30-something-year-olds that feel called to the ministry. I have to get them educated.
Yeah, and the secret is get them. Go ahead and start now.
Yeah.
Get them in a small group and get 20, 25, however many you have in this small group. Because honestly, Mike, what you're trying to do is actually train many to find the ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know which one is the next world changer. So you've got to think. I always think, get as many in the room as I can to find the diamond in the rough, so to speak. We're going to train them all.
Yeah.
And then just start this development process. And I get asked by pastors all the time, in what area? What do I develop them in? It's very simple. I'll make this so simple. You do an audit basically on their life, and start just asking them loads of questions, like things like this, like, tell me about your time with God every morning. And if they describe one better than yours, move on. That's not the area you're going to mentor them. If they go quiet time, what quiet time? What do you mean quiet time? I don't spend time with God in the morning. Then you lean into that area.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your finances. If they talk about finances that are way more in order than yours, move on. But if they're like, man, I don't really keep up with all that, you train them in finances. I mean, it's you interview them to find out where their deficiencies are.
Yeah.
And you start pouring into them, and then you can then find the online Bible training. There's information is so abundant right now. That's not the problem. Bible training, that's not the problem. We don't need another Bible school just for training. We need more mentors, disciplers. I call it organic discipleship, where I'm just going to get in your life and I'm going to ask you enough questions to find out areas I can help you in, and I'm going to develop you, and then I'm going to give you a chance to get on that stage. John Maxwell taught me this principle, Mike. You'll love it. He puts it in 6 phrases. He says you train leaders by doing these 6 phrases. I do it. I choose people to do it with me. I do it and they're with me. They do it and I'm with them. They do it. They do it and someone is with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I just taught over at Anchor Church.
Did you really?
Really?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly.
So I do it. I'm a model. They can't ever do if they can't learn how to spend time with God if I'm not spending time with God. So I need them. I do it. I need to be a good model to these leaders. I need to learn how to be a good recruiter. I choose people to do it with me.
Yeah.
It's a lost art, by the way, in the pastor world now. We don't go through the room enough saying, "Hey, there's a call of God on your life.
Right.
There's a
Yeah.
call of God on
Call it
your
out.
life,"
Yeah.
and call it out in them,
Yeah.
and just be a recruiter. It's like, I believe I see anointing on your life, and just like that's what Jesus did.
That's it.
He went to fishermen, and they just said, "Man, I see something in you," and they dropped their whole career and followed him. We don't do that anymore. We need to go through our auditoriums and our hallways
Yep.
and say that you're a man of God, you're a woman of God, and just start calling it out. Then I'm going to do it in there with me. So I want them to be in environments where they can see me do it,
Right.
and they can learn by my example. And this is where I'm training them. This is where we need some type of leadership development process. But then they do it, and I'm with them. I flip it now. I'm no longer the trainer. I'm the coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the team, but I'm on the sideline. I don't have pads on. I'm watching you do it, and I'm slapping you on the rear end when you come off the sideline, or get in your face saying, "Don't ever do that again." And I'm coaching you. And by the way, again, another missing ingredient is we're not even getting. I'm talking about in a very healthy way now. Saying, "My brother, that has to stop.
Mm-hmm.
That has to stop. I'm calling you out that attitude or the way you treat your wife or whatever, and just and they love it.
Yeah.
They want to be coached. They want to be told things that they're not, and be reminded of who they can become. And then they do it, meaning they play the game, and you're not on the sidelines. We have to create empowering environments,
Yeah.
where the leaders can lead, and then train them to do the same, and then require them. They do it, and someone is with them means don't come back to another meeting with me until you get your own group now, and you're discipling some people too. And now you've got this multiplication effect and this reproduction effect. Now you've got a what I call a leadership pipeline.
This is incredible because when I think about, we're not recruiting, we're not calling it out. My wife is like that. She walked through the lobby. We started going to the young adults because we went from a handful to all of a sudden we got 500, 600 coming on a Tuesday night.
Young adults.
That's
amazing.
On Tuesday nights. And my wife said, like, we got to get in there. Like, we're not going to take over, but we got to get in there. I'm like, yeah. And Becca and Elijah are like, please, I need you guys here. So we go over. And so we said, we had a ministry time. Said, if you feel a call of God in your life, if you feel God calling you to ministry, you don't even know what that looks like, but you feel like the call of God, the hand of God is on your life. I want you to come up to the front. So we have them come to the front. There are about 70 that came to the front. Out of that, 50 have been coming one Sunday afternoon a month where Lisa and I are there, and we're teaching. We're teaching. But she's got this radar, this radar, probably stronger than me, because I got my mind in other places too, not just this area. But she's got this radar of we've got to call it out of them and bring them into another circle. And we're just seeing this hunger like we've never seen before. We're seeing it in our young people like never before. Are you witnessing that right now as well?
Gosh, there's so much hunger in the college. There's a college revival going on in America right now. So it's definitely stirring, but they need us. We've got to get in their lives and develop them. So
We just fought to do the youth camp experience you just mentioned. We it's not easy for us to pull off as a setup tear down church, and coming out of COVID, especially having to relaunch out of all that, but we needed to create those environments and those experiences, and we've seen so many young people that are, they're hungry, and if we don't feed them the gospel, they're going to get fed something else.
Yeah.
And so we just finished that over fall break, and it was powerful. It was life-changing, I would say, for, dozens and dozens of young people, including two of my own kids.
that's awesome.
What's the ratio of kids or percentage of people come to Jesus under the age of 18 and under the age of 30?
Studies are 90%.
Yeah.
90%.
If you ask all the people that are Christians today,
Yeah.
you ask them when do they get saved,
Yeah,
90% are before the age of 30.
Yep.
That's a fact.
that's incredible.
It's actually probably 89% before 22. So it's in that
Right.
high school, college, early adult
Wow.
that we have to lean into that space. I think you asked, your first question was, what's the most important thing to focus on? I'm convinced this is the most important area.
I agree. I'm the product of the last revival, the Jesus movement,
Yeah.
Jesus revolution. That's my life.
Yeah.
So now it's happening again.
Let's talk revival.
50 years later.
Yep. 50 years later.
Is that the cycle normally? 50?
Yeah. That's
What's happening?
the new beginnings. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
The Jubilee.
you see it, Texas A&M, 10,000, right? Auburn, you see 5,000. Of course, we all saw the Asbury thing. It's happening now
That's right.
everywhere. And really, that's the same age group as the Jesus movement 50 plus years ago, except it was the margins of society, right?
Yeah.
The revolutionaries.
And you don't have to give them that milk toast, seeker friendly. They want it. They
Yeah.
tell
No,
me
they want
straight.
all
Tell
of
me
it. Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
Give me the word of God. Give me truth. Confront cultural issues. They're ready.
Yeah.
They're ready.
Yeah, this is already. Norman, are you seeing the beginning of revival in the islands? I mean,
Yes.
are you seeing it? Tell us
Yes.
where you're seeing it, because
Well, we're losing on the football field today, but Shaun's done a great job with the football team because along with Ohio State and Boise State, where it's also happening, the University of Hawaii is winning with the gospel with more than half the players now serving the Lord. They're in churches. But again, even when you see these mass baptisms, the concern is they need to be discipled
Yeah.
and developed.
Yeah.
Right? There
exactly
needs
right.
to be that.
Well, and
we'll
that
lose
was the number one decision we made early on,
Yeah.
and that was the strange part because I've actually tried to step away from the UH chaplaincy on multiple occasions because we're in Kapolei,
Yeah.
so I don't see any of the fruit at our church. We don't have a single UH football player
Yeah.
that comes to church on Sundays,
Yeah.
but we've got probably more. I've been involved with this team for at least 25 years, and like when I was a player, we had kind of the first spiritual renewal, I'd say, and we might have had 10, 15 guys consistently in church. Now there's at least probably 60 guys that are
Yeah.
in some of the local churches, including yours, including
Yeah.
Norman's. Like, they haven't made out to mine yet, but
It's too far. Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing. So we connected them right away with
Yeah.
Greg
There you
Brennis, who's
go.
right there near campus.
There
Like
you
that
go.
was the first connection I built was Pastor Greg, who bought the Old Willows, perfect spot right by
Yeah.
campus. We said, hey,
believe it. That was the restaurant I worked at.
Oh.
I didn't know it was on the market. Good for him.
It's my favorite
Yeah.
restaurant. It
Good
was
for
hard for
him.
me
Oh,
to
yeah, it
swallow.
was my favorite
Restaurant
as
in
well.
Honolulu I used to work at. I was a valet, and that's
it is
where
an oasis.
in that
right
time
there
I
in the-
gave
in
my
the middle
life
of the
to
city.
Jesus at that
Yeah.
time. And when I
Unbelievable.
found out that it was for sale, I didn't know it was for sale already.
Yeah.
And good for Greg.
Yeah.
He deserves a building, but I
Yes.
wanted it.
And we got dozens of
Thank you,
UH football players
Huh?
that
Yeah, a lot of
so
football players are going there.
we just linked them up and said, here's a great
Yeah.
church. So we actually started our first small group on property there to get them comfortable with it because it was like,
Yeah.
I can't disciple you from Kapolei if I'm only seeing you on
Right.
Friday nights at the team chapel. So let's get you connected with someone who
Right.
can really, and our top spiritual leader now, Logan Taylor. I mean, I remember when it was Zoom only during COVID and he was an absolute mess. Like we weren't sure if he was going to make it in terms of just even like staying in college.
What
and out
position
here.
does he play?
He's linebacker.
Okay.
And he gave his heart to the Lord and, had a child, ended up linking him up with Greg and Chris, and they got discipled.
Yeah.
That was the most important thing. And now he's the one out there leading the charge.
Well, now he's
Discipling
college
all these
football
guys and-
semifinalist for Man
Yep.
of the Year.
Yeah.
Really?
So he
Yeah.
pulls a prayer circle, invites people from other teams, and so it's you get this hometown and the visitor combined. It's very unique.
But it's all the product of
Yeah.
being involved in the local
That's
church.
right. And
Because we had, I
discipleship.
mean, I love FCA. I got saved through an athletic organization while I was a student athlete. And I love those guys. And they kept trying to, hey, we want to help. And I
Yeah.
said, that's great. Go to other sports. Because right now we got myself, we got Norman, we got Greg, we got you. We've got so many great pastors of actual like great disciple making churches. And that's been the biggest difference. And I remember when Nick Rolovich was a coach, I had just moved back to start the process of launching the church. And he called and said, hey, can you come be our chaplain? And so I said, okay, well, sure. And our first chapel, we had about 5 guys at the service. My wife was there, and I'm like, hey, you just sit in the back. It's going to be packed. And there was 5 of us in the room. And it just turned into a small group. But now, I do it via Zoom when they're on the road now because they'd rather do that. And there's 60, 70 guys sitting there in the room. And it's just great to see what's happening. But it goes back to what you've just talked about.
So
It's
to your point,
the local
Logan
church.
is a ministry intern because he's in a system of development. So he preaches already.
Yeah, he's going into full-time ministry.
He's leading, small
There
groups.
you go.
Yeah.
He doesn't know yet, but he's going to take my spot.
Yeah. Well, that's
I'm going to
good.
gladly pass the baton
Yeah.
That's
when
good.
the time is right.
That's really good. That's awesome. PC, let me ask you another question.
All right.
Okay, so now you're talking about repositioning one day not retiring. I agree. I love that. I'm not going to retire. People have asked me, so how long you think you want to do this? I was like, dude, it's a long off ramp. It's a really long off ramp. Now I'm thinking, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. But I want to ask you, what opportunities might have come your way that have been before you? I'm sure at some point somebody said, hey, come join me, come do this instead. If it has come, was it something that looked like something that you might have wanted to do but decided not to do?
Never.
Never.
I mean, I've had opportunities, but
Yeah.
no, I'm a church guy. I love the local church. I'm going to be involved in local church. Again, I think as you age, your roles should change, but you should never leave the missional family.
Mm-hmm.
If we're a family, and we are, then I don't ever leave, because then honestly, it'd be a crime to take away the wisdom of the aged, right? Those that are getting older.
Absolutely.
You want that, but what I don't have is energy and ideas.
Mm.
I don't even see vision the same way as I used to, because I don't get things today. I don't get AI. I've got leaders, that are using all this, to put messages together. That's foreign to me, and and I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
as culture changes, it takes
Yeah.
a different set of energies.
Mm-hmm.
But they still need the wisdom, So no, I haven't had any opportunities, and I wouldn't have taken them anyway. I do enjoy, like I said, what I do enjoy. This wasn't an opportunity that came. This is who I am. I love helping churches, So I have this side ministry, so to speak, like a grow leader, to be able to invest in churches and do roundtables and conferences and consulting and coaching and anything I can to help. We have over 30,000 free downloadable resources that people can have. So,
Wow.
just to,
Growleader.com.
yeah,
We
It's-
are incredibly grateful for
Yeah.
many of those.
and
We
honestly,
utilize
don't
them.
want any money for it, don't want any credit for it. I always tell guys that if you can use it, just put your name on it, act like you wrote it. So it doesn't matter to me. I want to resource the church. And I love building systems. I'm trying to make discipleship, to Pastor Norman's point. I think the key to discipleship is making it very clear of what that actually is. Can you identify the steps of discipleship? Because for a lot of people, discipleship is very ambiguous. It's like, hey, I'm going to disciple you. Well, what does that mean? Well, we're going to get together. Yeah, but what does that mean? And so I've actually created 12 steps in a discipleship making process. And so that's what I like to do. Is I like to make difficult or ambiguous things simple, so everybody can do it, and make it scalable and reproducible, so everybody can do it. And so anyway, that's what I love. And then I have this little college over here that I'm the chancellor
Little
of. too,
college.
that
It's phenomenal. You guys got to go see it. Like the last time I was there was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I walked in. I was like,
It's a
wow.
world-class facility. We've already raised and invested in capital projects and in scholarships over $140 million. But we have $260 million of vision still of the buildings I want to build there. We're going to build them in Jesus' name. So I got a lot of, but I have a lot of work to do. So
Yeah.
I need to go spend time with people who want to invest in this university. And so
But it requires a transition of role.
it does.
Yeah.
I can't preach
Can't do both.
40 times a year
No.
and do that. Yeah.
So when you started church, 2001.
Yes.
Okay. And you started into the ministry, what year? What year did you start ministry? 95?
Oh, no, gosh, it was 84. I mean,
84?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm presuming when pastor taught you how to prep a sermon, lexicon, Bible,
Oh, yeah. It's
commentary,
all books.
all books, right? And probably take about 10 hours, maybe 10 hours of
Yeah,
research. And
For
just
me,
to-
at least.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And then probably longer, like half the week. And when you're looking at this whole thing now today, you have Bible software. But you're pastoring in a different era now. You were in the old era, and now you're in the new era. You were in the old era. I started in the older era. I'm in the new era.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, there was no social media, no email. There was no World Wide Web, kind of like until like it hit in the late 90s. And now you have a different world.
Yeah.
People send a text message, expect a response within less than 30 minutes at the most. Beyond that, they feel it's disrespectful. Here we are. We're in this new day and age. What? Well, tell me what you make of it. I mean, like
It's
you're
all
saying,
good. Use it.
Use
It's
it.
all good.
But AI, would you use like I might be the old guy the older guy of the other generation. Like I tell my guys, don't you dare use AI. Like, don't you dare. I want you on your knees. I want Holy Spirit intelligence, not artificial intelligence. But tell me, do you think that, Mike, you're probably going to change your mind later on down
You're
the
probably
road?
going to change your mind later on that. I'm not using it, but when I get stuck
Yeah.
and I'm
It's a
trying to find
resource.
something, I'll call one of the guys that are good at it and say, "Hey, send me a bunch of stuff." And they text me back in 5 minutes because it's AI. It doesn't need time.
Yeah.
It happens at warp speed. So all of a sudden I have all this, and then I can disseminate it. But it saved me probably an hour of going and find it myself. So I'm not against that. We'd be fools not to use the technology that we
Right.
have here.
It's a resource, not a replacement.
Exactly. Exactly. But think about it, Mike. Back in the day, too, we used to have to put the Bible in Bible schools in other countries. We had to go build buildings, and now you can put an entire
Wow.
Bible college on a phone.
Right.
So we're happy. I'm happy about the satellites that we put up in space and allowed all this to fly around the world at warp speed. Those are good things. Where the danger of it is, I think, is like you said, when it becomes a replacement for just getting the presence of God on your life, and of course, I think we're about 10 years out from finding out. I think that in 10 years, I'm not a prophet, but if I did, this is my shot at it right here. I think we're going to find out in about 10 years how much this has destroyed the young minds.
Mm.
I think we're already starting to figure it out a little bit, but just because of the access, people are more connected than they've ever been before, so to speak,
Yeah.
and more lonely. We're the loneliest generation in history. So it's not connecting us, in other words. And so that's why we have to use the tools, but stay organic in our discipleship.
So good. Thank you. I might use it. I might try it. Why are you laughing back there, Gabriel? Has there ever been an unpopular decision that you've had to make that you believe was ultimately best for the church's health?
I get asked that question all the time.
Really?
I get regret questions.
Yeah.
What would you do if you did it over? And I don't know if it's just not my personality. I have the ability to flush things that were bad, and I move on and learn from them. And so I never can come up with an answer when people ask that, and I know there is an answer. But I just do not dwell on that stuff. I don't have very many qualities, honestly. There's a lot of character that needs to grow in me, but one of them is I can move on.
That's amazing.
I do not hold on to things,
Mm.
so I don't even see. It's
I
hard.
need a little bit of that. I need a little bit
Do
of
you?
being, flush.
I can get so mad and be so over it in a second
Really?
and never even bring it up to you again. It's just,
Really?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So when people ask me about regret questions
Yeah.
or a bad decision, I'm like, did I make it? I can't, because I refuse to let it stay in my mind. So
Yeah.
I probably the hardest decisions. The first one that came to mind, Mike, was just in staffing and having to let people go that you deeply love, and
Yeah.
they just weren't cutting it anymore. Or they made a bad decision or whatever. I mean, that's the hardest decisions I've had to make. That was good for the health of the church. Was keeping the right people in the right seats on the bus, and because I can be loyal to a fault, probably
Mhm.
to people that I deeply love, and so that's been the hardest ones because you love them so much. But the organization needed better leaders than they were able. They got you to this point, but they can never get you to that point.
Yeah.
It's that. So
Yeah. How do you feel about 2025? I mean, we just came out. I'm just going to throw it out there. Anybody can answer. We had a very tumultuous November. We had, a tumultuous year. We had a major election decisions that needed to be made, and here we are today. Donald Trump is our president. And what do you guys see for the future?
Let
in
me speak to
2025?
that one
Yeah,
because
please.
I had a Jim LaFoon moment.
Okay.
We were having a prayer time, and I felt like the Lord showed me whether it was an angel is holding the gates of hell open.
Mm.
Jesus said, "I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." And He's bought us time.
Yeah.
He's bought us time, honestly, with a president that's a believer but needs to be discipled.
Right.
And I'll go and own that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the answer is not politics.
Right.
The answer is not a party. It's the church going in, making disciples, raising up leaders, and planting and strengthening more of the churches that are the hope of the world. But there's a space of time to allow for repentance. Those doors How long they will remain open, I believe, will depend on the sovereignty of God and the obedience of the church to rise up. Because the only way a nation is discipled or people are changed is the gospel gets on the inside.
Right.
They are discipled, they are transformed from the inside out, not behavioral management.
Or laws.
Yeah, exactly. But they'll come. Then I saw the doors close, and then we're going to have the problem that we've faced the last few years, except worse.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a space of time with the opening of the doors for the church to respond, to obey to the Great Commission, to disciple making, leader raising, as Pastor Chris has said, church planting, all of those things. What I see 2025 is this revival will go to the next level. It's
I agree.
going to increase. Yeah.
Yeah, the election can't change a heart at all.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
what it can do, though,
Yeah.
is that it gives because that particular group of leaders and party are more church friendly than the other,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and they're more pro religious freedom than the other. It just gave us an opportunity. We have, to Pastor Norman's point, we have to step into that space.
Yes. Yeah.
So it only provided the space. It won't do the work. We have to do the work
Yeah.
because only the gospel is the only thing that's ever transformed a heart. Not election, not laws.
Yeah.
Congress can't pass a law and change hearts. So it's up to us to do our work now. And I do feel like we got a reprieve as well, and just a window of time. And let's make the most of it. At the same time, let me just throw this out there just for fun. The gospel does its best work in crisis too.
Mm-hmm.
When all hell breaks loose, that's when, because people are hurting more. So I was prepared. I'm always prepared for the other as well.
Yeah.
We can get a lot done in persecution too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
in the
Yeah.
book of Acts, the church constantly grew in persecution. So don't begrudge it either way.
That's a great word.
Just
right
take
there.
whatever the history's given you and make the most of it.
You just had so go ahead.
I feel like, out here during COVID, Mike, you and Norman and a few other the key real sort of apostolic leaders, the generals, I would say, of the church in Hawaii, you guys made a point to really meet with our government officials. And I mean, we were locked down. And I remember you guys did such a great job of conveying to them the value that the church adds, to where they shockingly let churches gather again. Now, those of us who were portable, that was another story. But I remember, Norman, you really saying and putting out a call, I think you did as well, like, hey, because the churches didn't respond right away, and so few were willing to go back and meet. And I felt like, and you said, look, here's an incredibly rare open door we have in our state with our government officials for the church to really run through, and nobody seems to want to run. That's when I said, Norman, we would love to run. We're locked out of our facility. We don't own a building. You said, why don't you use ours? So we literally started regathering Saturday mornings in your facility. And then we meet in a movie theater, and they finally let us open back up. And that really led to, I think, them changing. And now the church has declared what was the term? Essential workers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that was, when you guys
You
led
could
the
get
way.
a tattoo or buy some liquor, but you couldn't go to church.
Yeah.
But I feel like what you guys
God help us.
just shared, I feel like that's what we're going into again as a nation, is there's this unique open door, and those who run through it are going to be those who really see the harvest. And I think, going back to everything about leadership development, discipleship, like the churches that are the strongest now, the healthiest now, are the ones that were already great at small groups. We're already great at raising up leaders. We're already great. Why? Because there's been a shaking, and the seeker sensitive, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's not really real, but those who are making disciples. And so I feel like there's this open door that if we can run through, I think we're going to see some incredible things happen in our culture over the next few years.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with that. I met with Sammy Rodriguez in 2022 for the first time, and he was on vacation here. I got hooked up from another guy. You got to meet Sammy. So I'd love to meet Sammy. Apparently, he comes to Hawaii like 2 or 3 times a year just to vacation. And so we met for coffee in Waikiki, and great time. If you ever, Sammy Rodriguez,
Oh, yeah.
The consultant to presidents, back in the White House again. He's going to help with this administration, was left out of the last one. And Sammy said to me, he goes, Mike, I got to ask you a question. I go, what? You got enough church services? I go, yeah. I mean, 2022, I was still disappointed.
Sure. Yeah.
I was going through disappointment with what was going on in Hawaii. Very disappointed. Very disappointed. Anyway, I'll leave it right there. Can't flush that one. I got to flush that one.
Yes, you do.
So
I'm your pastor. You need to flush
I was irritated. I was super annoyed. I was mad.
You need to get over it, Mike.
Yeah,
Come on.
I know.
It's a new day.
So we were having coffee, and this is what he asked me. You have enough church service? I go, yeah. You got all that Grow Track stuff? I got all of it. He goes, you got Connect Groups? I said, I got all of it. He goes, well, get ready. I'm not being prophetic. I'm being analytical. According to George Barna's statistics, there is going to be a revival. And he starts going, there's going to, you know how fast he can talk. He preaches when he talks.
Yeah.
And everything that he said was absolutely right. Everything. To the place where I was sharing last night in Amos and in Leviticus, the reaper will overtake the sower.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's the other word? Too slow. Okay, overtake and overlap, and you know the other guy will overlap the other. The other season will overlap the other season, and that's exactly what's happening. The overtake and the overlap, and he was absolutely right. But when he told me that in 2022, I was hopeful, but I was doubtful. I was still doubtful, and I think that's what's happening now. I think that, I mean, kudos to the former mayor that was, you know, God's grace was with us, that he listened and he was gracious to open up. And we had an opportunity with another political official I don't want to mention. We had another opportunity to meet with him, and Jim came in to prophesy over him. And that was during still the COVID season. And that person, anyway, we'll leave it right there.
COVID season was long here.
It was long, bro.
It was like 3 years, if not more.
Yeah, even though we were locked down for sure. The commercials that were being played, even up until last year, about masking up, we're in this together. All that narrative was still with us until last year. Anyway, flush it.
Let it out, Mike. Yeah.
We'll tell you a story after this. Can't go on here. PC, I want each of you to ask PC one question each, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Well, it's kind of similar. PC, I would say, you know, what are you trying to instill, not just in your congregation, but also, I mean, with all your areas of influence? You got ARC, you are kind of on a seat in such an influential position to really help this next wave of whatever God's doing. Other than what we've already talked about, because I'm sure that's a big part of it, is there anything else you would say, man, I'm really trying to instill this into current and the next wave of future leaders?
To me, the one message that always is, I think it's the message of the Gospels, and it's the message we have to fight for because it can get lost in church so fast, is souls. Just keep winning souls. I'm convinced, I spoke this to some of Mike's leaders here at Inspire, about, that if we're not careful, we can become spiritually nearsighted, where we're thinking about our church and our people and I love all that. But Jesus said, open your eyes, look at the fields, and I think there's a gravitational pull to selfishness, even in churches and even in leaders. And so we get satisfied with what we have. Never stop your burning passion for lost people. Jesus is willing to leave 99 to go find one. That doesn't even make good business sense. At 1%, you cut your losses. 99% is too high. Not Jesus.
Yeah.
He leaves unguarded 99 to go find that one. And then is quick to tell two more stories, about the lost coin and the lost son. It's the heart of the Father. Yeah. The heart of the Father are our lost people, and we just should never lose sight of that. So disciple, develop, pray. But I get weary sometimes of moves of God, quote unquote, and altar moments, but they're all for us. It was my latest little. Man, church was great last night. Well, good for you, man. But while you got all of that blessing going on, there are people in pretty dire situations, and by the way, headed to eternity without Christ. So I try to never, ever, ever let my eye off that ball, because there's a gravitational pull to selfishness. You let it happen. I told the story last night to the the generous people here at Inspire, the story of the woman at the well. We all know the story of the woman at the well. What most people forget to do is read the story after the story. When the disciples return from the errand, and they see him talking to this woman, and while they're talking, she wanders off and brings her whole town toward them. And the disciples say, "Hey, let's go get something to eat," with the whole town walking
Yeah.
toward them. And Jesus is like, "Guys,
Right.
dear Lord, you want to go eat now?
Yeah.
With this whole town walking toward us right now?" He says, "And I have food to eat that you know nothing about. This is lunch.
Yep.
Let's let this be lunch for us. How about?"
Mhm.
And they said, "Did you already have lunch?" They missed it.
Yep.
Could someone have already brought him food? So he even told them, "No, I don't want to go to lunch. I want to reach this town," and they still didn't get it.
So good.
And he said, "Guys, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish the work." We can't ever forget what the work really is. That's what I'm trying to say. Open your eyes, look at the fields; they are ripe for harvest right now. And so to me, great churches aren't discipling churches. They're not worshiping churches. They're not praying churches. They're all of it.
Yeah.
They're souls, fasting, praying, discipling, groups, serve. It's the whole thing. And to me, I'm just trying to keep us all focused right now, because it's so easy to get our eyes off the ball. And the church can get into this little, bless me club. And man, bring your friends, bring your friends, bring your friends. Okay, I'm going to disciple you.
Yep.
So we've got to build churches where we're going to pour our whole heart and soul into every person who comes, but never be satisfied and never get our eyes off the ones who didn't come, and do everything we can to reach people far from God.
Yep.
So I'm very motivated by that in every area, in our missions giving, everything, So, I mean, we sit here and talk about our Bibles and read scripture and enjoy the Word of God, and forget there are 3,400 languages who still have little or no scripture in their language.
Mhm.
In a day like today, with all this technology,
Right.
what in the world are we doing? And so it's just keeping your eyes on that missional ball. That
Yeah.
you got to be nearsighted and farsighted at the same time.
Mhm.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Norman, you have a question before we wrap this up? I got one more. Well, go ahead. Do you have anything? You want me to go and then you go after?
No, you go. Yeah.
All right. Tell me your top 3, 5 guys or preachers, male or female, that you love listening to. Who do you go like, I'm gonna listen to this guy this week, or maybe if you got a list,
I have a
you,
list.
you feel comfortable saying?
Do
sharing
I
that?
have a list?
Do I?
If I had
Yeah.
a list of everything I like, list would be at the top of the list. No, I have a list of everything. No, I have a whole set of about 20 churches that I listen to. I go to church on Mondays, I call it. And so, because I work church, so I don't go to church on Sundays. I lead church on Sundays.
Yeah.
I go to church on Monday. I sit in front of my computer and amen the screen and take notes, just like
Really?
every Monday.
Wow.
I go to church every Monday, and I have about 20. They're all my buddies, my ARC buddies. They're my pastor, and the people that I'm in fellowship with. And then I always have a few guys that I love. I'm not a classic preacher, but I love listening to classic preachers, the Sammy Rodriguez's and the Jensen Franklins. I love it. I could never do it, but I love listening to it. But I'm also always keeping my eye on some young leaders that I think are crushing it right now.
Yeah.
I told you about this guy, Josh Howerton, I've been listening to for the last couple of months.
Yeah.
The guy's got clarity and courage like nobody else I've ever seen,
Yeah.
in that generation. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
And so I love kind of, putting my toes in the water and just see what's happening out there and with guys like that. But no, I get plenty fed and listen to a lot of guys. I probably listen to, on a bad week, 6 messages, on a good week, 15
Wow.
every week. So I love the word. I want to be fed. I want to learn. I want to hear what they think. I don't think you can grow unless you're doing something like that. It's my personal growth plan. And then I have 2 churches every year that I study every year. I pick 2 churches, and I'm going to go find something they do better than us, and I'm going to learn it. And I always say they're only going to be better than us for now,
Yeah.
because I'm going to take it and improve. So I love doing that, but I love learning from churches. I'll study about their systems and their programming and their sermon calendar and everything. Just learn, grow.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. I love listening to Jensen.
Yeah.
Darius.
Yeah.
Darius Daniels. Yourself.
Yeah.
That's the 3 that I'll pretty much listen to.
Mm.
I guess I got to up my game, but I'm only doing 3. But it's pretty awesome. Love
yeah.
it.
I mean, but I just enjoy it.
Yeah. Norman, you got a question?
Well, what advice would you give to other leaders about staying effective in ministry as they get older? To Pastor Chris's statement already, and of course, I made 70 on Friday.
Woo,
So
congratulations.
Let's
you
go.
know, I mean, I've had so many
You're a septuagenarian.
clips. I've had so many birthday parties. I've had so many meals, and again, they all remind me of how old I am. Right? Let your years be 70, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there's more to that. The context of that word. I would say what's already been said and what I think you already know. When seasons change, let go of yourself
Good.
and let the Lord move you into another role. Transition well and make heroes of others.
That's so good.
I'm kind of naturally wired like that. I don't like too much attention. I don't like I played music. I was the drummer. I was always in the back criticizing all those celebrities up front. So I think that I would say to pastors as they age, be sensitive and discern the seasons, because if you step by faith into the next season, your fruit multiplies. But I
That's
think
right.
a lot of people are afraid of losing when that's not the case. You're actually gaining. Myself, when I transitioned the church, I'm not Mikekai or Chris Hodges. I'm just Norman, right? But the doors that have opened in the body of Christ, as well as in our Urban Nation family, have blown me away. I don't like to travel. Well, I'm traveling to other nations and in our country, and I'm realizing. I tell them, I didn't know you knew who I was, but now we live in an online. Everybody, so the Lord opens the doors and connects you with the one He wants you to help.
That's so good.
And so I would say to younger pastors or pastors in transition, the best is in front of you. Don't hold on to what should be behind you.
Mm-hmm.
That's Yeah.
Pastor Chris, thank you. PC, any parting shot before we leave?
Oh man, just love you. Appreciate
Thank you.
your intense focus for these islands and for pastors, and you're a good man, Charlie Brown. I love you. I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, Anchor Church, you came out of, what it was called Hope Chapel Kaneohe back then. Yeah, the one word they would use to define you is intensity.
It's good.
It's not normal.
That's good.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm one of my best friends growing up came to church. He lives on the east side. He came just to say hi, and I was running a little bit late. And he said to my daughter asked him because he saw me walking out of the car, coming through the door. He goes, "Look at your dad," and she asked him. Becca asked him, "Was he always like that?" He goes, "Always." Since I was 19, he can remember I was always intense. Anyway, it is what it is. God uses that. So thank you so much for joining us, Pastor Chris.
Thank you.
On the Pound for Pound Leader podcast. Pastor Norman Nakanishi,
Honor.
thank you so much. Pastor Shaun Withy-Allen, thank you so much for joining us. We are grateful. I know a lot of people are going to get helped by this. Thank you for joining us on Pound for Pound. We'll talk to you later. Take care, everybody. God bless you. Aloha.